at the moment. Thank you, Chair.
We will follow up. I don't want us to belabor the point. We will follow up. And the problem is that he's making this personal statement because he was under such a challenge that we have. The other challenge I have is the allegations he has stated here are bordering on the root cause of the crash. Okay? Yes, we will be concerned about what happened in Cheo. That's incidental. Things have happened. But we want to get to the bottom of the matter, the root cause of the problem. And unfortunately, he is not able to divulge any names at this stage. So as a committee, as you have guided, we'll try and find means. But I don't want to belabor the point. I think the matter has been made. It's very clear that it's something we need to follow up.
Point of order, Chair.
Yeah, but I have other people that are on the queue, so I don't want us to go forth and backwards. So can I? I know, but he's not ready to engage. He has shut down.
Chair, may you allow me to say something? Chair, I was not on the site. I think I indicated earlier on that the Director General is the first consumer of the intelligence product. Whatever I have reported here is what I have consumed as intelligence, and that I'm sharing with you. That is why I was saying that this is not something that, I just came, sat down and say what, no. It's what I try to recorrect from the intelligence product that I consumed. If they sound like allegations, Chair, it's unfortunate. But I feel, that's why sometimes, sorry for me to say this, Chair, the way maybe our friends, they are doing in South Africa, where they have an evidence lead, who investigates some of these things. Because some of these things, like the one you're asking in Chikangawa, people made a lot of statements, even in the public. To the same extent of what I'm pointing out, what happened in Chikangawa, and because the anger, and I say this, Chair, as a national security expert, if, for example, the day the president was going to Ncheu, the then president, I even recollect some people, some senior officers telling the president not to go to Ncheu because it is not going to be well. That's why we even had to talk to the military to deploy heavily. In fact, the moment on the way back, the moment we passed with the convoy, the people were coming behind us were heavily stoned. We're talking about more than 20 vehicles, So this is it is a serious issue. If we are honest with ourselves, yes, what happened in Chikangawa is a very serious. We need to look at the gaps and what should never happen again. The same way, because even lives were lost there. Maybe it's something I didn't mention. If I recollect very well, 3 or so people lost their lives because of and that anger was not natural anger. Because sometimes it could have been natural anger. This was anger that was actually fermented as a way of an operation by certain quarters. And I wish if I was in the system, knowing I'm protected, those people who have worked with me know I always told truth to power. That's why even, that at certain times things happen. But anyway, Chair, I thought I needed to point out that. So it's not like I'm just bringing things up.
No, thank you very much. Luntha Malabada, Mwanza Central, and then Kasungu North.
Thank you very much, Chair. My question is from page 1. Mr. Ngwira depicts that you had officers at Kia on official duties of state security. I've got 3 questions from that. It's been discovered that Kia does not have any CCTV footage of that particular day. Would your officers not have been able to detect that since they were working there on official duties? Second question, what was the actual scope of the work of your officers at that particular time and day? Third question, the NIS being responsible for security of the president, would they not consider the flying of the president or vice president into bad weather a threat? Thank you, Chair.
Let me take those questions.
Chair, I think the issue of the CCTV Airport police, I think, would better assist you, Chair, because the CCTV at the airport is under their command, because they're the ones that do the physical protection there. But in terms of the scope of the work for intelligence, sorry for me to say that, but every international airport you go to has intelligence officers. As I said, we protect key government installations, we protect the integrity of the state, so an entry point is very critical. We may not interface directly with the public, but to make sure that systems are working. That's why it's important, of course, that you asked me that question. But I think for the CCTV, you know, it is. But also the CCTV at the airport, I don't know if it covers how much it covers the what do you call it on the ground there. I mean that is something that it may be looked at into. In terms of bad weather, Chair, this is purely for the people flying the aircraft and the aviation. Of course, where somebody ignored, you know, maybe a warning of bad weather, you know, intelligence would report as that person being a threat. But for us to be telling the pilot there's bad weather, you can't fly, that kind of mandate the NIS does not have, you know. But that is purely between the pilot and the people that advise the pilot on when it is safe to fly or not. That's why all of us, when we fly there, we'll be suffering the turbulence in the air together there. Thank you very much, Chair. Thank you, Chair.
Mwanza Central, and then there's Kasungu North. Then we come to Zomba Tondwe.
Thank you very much, Chair. Let me start by asking the former NIS DG again if the Vice President was classified as VVIP, because that question was not answered.
Chair, may I respond?
Yes, please.
Chair, through you to the honourable member, what I recall the question was he on the radar, you know, of NIS, you know, as somebody the NIS was monitoring. As a VVIP, there is only one bigger VVIP than the Vice President, and that is the President. And then number two is the Vice President. He was a VVIP, as serious as it can get.
Yes, thank you. That's what I wanted to know. Now, on your paragraph labeled 1, the officers at Kamuzu International Airport reported to you, or reported that the Vice President had departed from Mzuzu to attend the funeral of late Rafael Kasambara, who passed on 7th June 2024. Bearing in mind that the Vice President was in Korea and he arrived on 9th at Bakili Muluzi Airport, did you get information that the Vice President is back in the country?
Chair, I may have, but I don't recollect somebody specifically reporting to me that the Vice President is back in the country.
Well, I need a straight answer, former DG. Did your officers inform you that the Vice President was back in the country?
No, they did not inform me, and they were not obliged to inform me.
Thank you very much. When did you get to know that the Vice President was back from Korea? If you can mention the date.
On the 10th.
You knew on the 10th?
Yes.
Okay.
In actual fact, Chair, I think I should have actually even been out of the country by then, because I was preparing to fly ahead of the president. Just scheduling of aircrafts made it that I was supposed to travel now with the president. So for me, it was basically preparing, and operationally, most of the things now had been handed over already to my deputy.
Thank you very much, Chair. Now, the late Vice President being a VVIP, is the intelligence involved in checking his movements, his travel, when he goes out of the country, when he gets in? Is it of interest to the national security?
It is of interest that he is safe, but in terms of if the intelligence has to be involved, upon a request, the intelligence has gotten involved once in a while. But basically, the intelligence should be aware, even some critical ministers. But you remember, intelligence is looking at threats to national security, first and foremost. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much. But you can confirm that you had officers at Chileka Airport on the 9th?
Yes.
Thank you very much. On your paragraph number 2, at around 11. Paragraph number 3. Immediately, I called the then Secretary to the President and Cabinet, Ms. Colleen Zamba, to map the way forward. She advised that we immediately head to Kamuzu Palace to brief the President. Upon reaching the palace, I found her in the waiting lounge with the then Inspector General of Police, Mrs. Merin Yolam, and the then Commander of Malawi Defense Force, General Dr. Valentino Piri. On that day, the President had a press briefing. And during that press briefing, he told Malawians that he had instructed the commander of the MDF to update him every 4 hours. Was this the meeting that he gave that direction?
I don't think so. I don't recall. But remember, before we went in as a group, the commander had been with the president, and the commander and the president, just like the president and me, would talk even after that.
Thank you very much. Now, at this briefing, which was at 11 a.m.
The briefing was not at 11 a.m.
Can you confirm the time?
I wouldn't be exact, but I think some people have mentioned the time because we waited in the lounge quite a bit. So I wouldn't, I'm not very good with times, and to be honest, but it must be somewhere, if it is not 12:31, I'm not sure. But we waited quite a bit. And remember, this day, the president was leaving. So he was probably tidying up, or maybe even communications or what.
Yeah, that's exactly where I was going. The briefing that you gave the president was that the plane did not arrive in Mzuzu. And he was traveling at 5 p.m. But at that meeting, he immediately cancelled the trip. Was there anything probably that was discussed in that meeting apart from just the missing plane?
Chair, the briefing was specific about the plane. And remember, civil aviation reports to the SPC, and then the aircraft was MDF aircraft. So as I said, the commander and the SPC took lead in briefing, and the briefing was what had been done so far. in terms of trying to trace the plane. You know, so in the briefing, that is where it was being indicated that so far the areas, the alternate airports where they expected the plane to have landed, nothing has what? But remember, by the time we were getting into the briefing, the commander had already issued the officers now to start off for Chikangawa. By this time, Airtel had already confirmed that they had traced a number for April. So all that was briefed to the president. So it was not just that the plane is missing, if I may correct very well.
Also, it was more than just the plane missing.
It was about the missing plane.
Thank you very much. I just want to find out, as the NIS former director, was NIS involved in the handling of the gadgets that were found at the scene in any way, whether extraction of data or safekeeping?
Chair, the NIS was never at any point involved in the handling of the gadgets. Actually, what I remember is that, because one of the sensitive things was it was the vice president, and the IG basically briefing us that for the phones of the vice president, the police didn't even stay along with them. And actually, some of us, one of the challenges we had with this is that people took maybe on a more human empathy side of things than a critical hard look on how investigations are supposed to be done. Because those phones should have been handed over to the experts. Maybe they could have given leads. But what happened is, especially for the phones of the vice president, they were handed over to the family. You know.
Thank you very much. As Director General, former Director General of NIS.
Sorry, but we need to correct that record. The phones were not handed over to the family.
That's where I'm going, Chair.
Okay.
Yeah.
I am saying the information that I have from the police. You know, you are going to engage the police. They will correct it. Thank you.
Okay, since you got that information from the police, because the one concern from the family members was that, I think it was Madam Mary Chirima, was that the gadgets took more than, you know, their expectation. The period was longer than their expectation. So that's where I wanted to find out if I told you had anything to do with the gadgets, as being the National Intelligence Service. Probably you needed some information from the gadgets. That's why maybe they took so long with the police, because it took more than a month.
Chair, if I may respond. This was an aviation accident. The NIS does not have expertise in aviation investigations. So basically, and for the handling of the site, even the NIS officers did not even reach the site, because they were in civilian, and the police and the military didn't know. They were part of the people that were actually cordoned off. So that's why when I was reporting about what happened amongst the group that was cordoned off, because that's where the officers were, in terms of handling of the gadgets, my take is probably you need to find out who exactly gave the gadgets to Madam Mary Chirima, because it may be that the gadgets were handed over a certain member of the family who maybe took time, whatever it is. But in terms of investigation, it's important that you find out who handed over, and the police are probably the best that can help you, because the gadgets, I am aware, were in the custody of the police. Thank you, Chair.
Chair, I just have 3 more questions remaining. As NIS, I believe you have cooperating partners, you know, in other countries. Did you receive any information from intelligence organizations from elsewhere, maybe on the 10th?
Chair.
Regarding the missing plane?
Anyway, when it comes to mentioning certain agencies sometimes, but anyway, maybe I can do that. It was me in the launch actually who reached out to the Americans, because we have what we call liaison officers, relationships to the Americans, I remember to the French, and even the Israelis to help with satellite tracking, you know. And all the three services reached us that they couldn't, you know. Actually, one of them asked, is the transponder on? Because normally they should have, using satellite, they should have picked it up. But the only response we got, they were not able to pick it up. And that is what I have, if I recollect very well.
Chair, last question. I think there was a mention here in your narration about the relationship between the president and the vice president. So I just wanted to make a follow-up question on that. Were you aware of any agreement that was signed between the president and the vice president, or rather the two political institutions? Because you mentioned UTM, you mentioned MCP, you mentioned Afford, and you said the president and the vice president had a very good relationship. They could, you know, have a cup of tea together. It means you have a lot of information. Were you aware of an agreement between these two?
Chair, let me put it this way. I was aware that there was an agreement between political parties, which is, I think, is public knowledge. But I was also aware that there was an agreement between the two people, which only the two people and one witness, I think a gentleman called Pastor Tom, who I happen to know, who, as per your, you know, the late vice president had mentioned himself in one of the press briefings. So I was aware, but it is politics. So I'm not a politician. And in politics, I know we say this, we say that. It's a Game of Thrones. So this is all I can say. But to say that I am private with this or that, what I am saying, what I was reporting is what I interfaced when we were in office. Thank you, Chair.
So we can confirm that you may be not private to other information that may have been in their space, apart from what you have just said. Because I was asking this question, Chair, because I wanted the former Director General to confirm to this committee if he was private to the agreement or any other issues that were there, but which is very important, you know, to clarify some matters as we progress.
Chair, when you talk of agreements, as DG, I was private to a lot of agreements. Even a certain agreement that maybe the two of them agreed towards, you know, just before his demise. But the issue is when you are not part of that agreement, it is a challenge to put it on record that you understand. But that is a challenge, you know, especially when, Chair, with the nature of investigation that you are conducting. My advice is you'd rather, as usually the Chair says, you'd rather stick to facts, because a lot of it will be speculation. This is what I can advise as a former intelligence chief.
Thank you very much, Chair.
Thank you. I just want to follow up on the support that the National Intelligence Service rendered during search and rescue. It is our understanding that during your time, National Intelligence Service was modernized. You made a lot of strides to improve the institution. You did a tremendous job. Did you not have any capabilities to assist in the search and rescue, like identifying the ping of the cell phones, the geolocation and coordinates with the devices that you have? Because the search and rescue was pretty much a blind search. But we understand that you had the capability, the systems and the machine and modern equipment to trace anyone else if you know their location, if you know their phone numbers. Even if the phone is silent or dead or not working, you'll be able to trace using your machines that they are somewhere. Is it true or not? Is it something that you would have used?
Chair, let me put it this way. Every piece of capability, and I'm trying to choose my words carefully, because it is like your marriage has ended with a woman, then you want to address the woman, in public. Yeah, but every capability was deployed on the part of NIS. That's why I'm even telling you that we reached out even to services with even more, technically capable, systems. But all systems have limitations, especially when the gadgets on the ground are in a certain state. So every capability, meaning that our technical division also. So I was just saying the team from headquarters. I didn't want to get too much into nitty-gritties because already the challenges or the capabilities that we have is out there in the public. But we deployed, and you are right, Chair. We made quite, a stride to improve the systems. Yes. So it was unfortunate, but maybe also, Chair, let me assist this way. The signal from Airtel, picked, and we suspect that it was the time the plane was flying over the tower at Leiprai, going towards Ntungwa. Now that's why you find that on the 10th, most of the search was around the tower at Leiprai. And those of you who are familiar with Chikangawa, it's quite a bit of a distance between the two towers. Now, when the tower picks a signal, normally it is a 10 kilometer. It doesn't give you precision that even our systems, if I remember very well, the most precise was about 5 kilometers. But our systems were deployed. By the time they were getting there, it was a bit late. Now, 10-kilometer radius, those of you who are familiar with around Leiprai there, is different from the Ntungwa area, So there it is a bit more forested. That's why when I speak the 5 teams, actually there was a team that went closer to the tarmac road that goes to Mzimba, the new one, from Leiprai there, and walking on foot. And there are even information, there was information that they met people, which was corroborating some of the things that was being mentioned here, that about a plane that was coming down and then it went up again, So the main challenge, besides the capabilities, was that, for me, it was the first time that we had this type of an accident. And I speak a bit about that. I almost went off script in a sense that, because you don't want to talk about terrorist bombs anyhow. But God forbid, imagine there's a terrorist explosion. Can you imagine the chaos if we don't address some of these things? That would ensue, because of lack of readiness, lack of preparedness. In a way, systems work together. Because a lot of it was ad hoc, people calling each other. That's why I speak, in many countries, this is usually addressed by the National Security Council, standing procedures. Now, most of the time here, even our COVID-19, here we had ad hoc committee, presidential COVID worldwide. It was an ad hoc committee. If you go to Zimbabwe, the National Security Council took charge. You went to Zambia, the National Security took charge with all its systems. So I'm just to try to emphasize why systems are critical, both technological and how agencies are working together. It's very critical. So here it was just a matter of, because imagine they are looking at the wrong tower, because that's where they were searching on the 10th. So even to go to the other tower, it was out of now intelligence, information that people were what? Were giving it up. But somewhere it seems like people saw something. That's how they ended up at Ntungwa. Thank you very much, Chair.
Thank you. Kasungu North.
Thank you so much, Chair, for giving me the opportunity to ask questions from Kasungu North. Mr. Ngwira, there are 2 questions for you. The first one is there is information indicating that the plane was actually found on 10th June 2024 and not on 11th June 2024 as officially stated. Are you aware of this? And the second question, maybe you can take it also. Second question is, when did you come to know that the plane had been found, and who communicated this to you? Thank you, Chair.
Chair, the day you heard what the honourable member is saying is the day I heard, you know. And I was like, unless we were sleeping, which all the systems couldn't have been sleeping, or unless all of us were so much politically inclined that we wished the late Vice President ill in all the systems. But anyway, somebody reported that. It's unfortunate the person reported that has nothing to do with government. He used the source of somebody who retired from the military quite a long time ago. So I am aware that you are engaging the particular source of that information. For me, it would be interesting to see the real source. Where is that information coming from? Because, I mean, you met the owners of the plane, the Air Force, they were here, you know, and I was listening attentively. And to assume that all those ones were part of a certain conspiracy is a very serious challenge. But also, you know, when people are grieving, I mean, I lost both my parents, quite a bit young, especially my mother. It took a bit of time for me to recover. Sometimes I actually believe I have not fully recovered, you know. Now, when somebody very close to you, and sorry for me to say, and especially when that person was probably the reason that certain aspects of your life were going in a certain way, it is very painful. So for me, it gives your committee a lot of work. If sometimes you pray, you're still part of the system that you can help pray, get to the bottom of it. What started it? Is it somebody misunderstood the phone call? But the general is the only one who can put all of us at rest what really happened. But me, as former Director General of National Intelligence, that is not true. That is not true. Thank you very much, Chair. So I on the 11th, and my officers on the ground, when they reported through their structures, the regional intelligence officer also for North was there, is the one who actually called out to me that we have found the crash. Thank you.
Second question? Yes. I gave you a second question.
Yes.
When?
The one I'm saying on the 11th.
Oh, on the 11th, okay. There is a question that I said, when did you come to know that the plane had been found, and who communicated to you?
It's the one I've just answered, on the 11th, and my regional intelligence officer in the north.
Okay, fine. Thank you, Chair.
Sombatonde.
Thank you so much, Chair. Good afternoon, Pastor Ngwira. I think the people of Sombatonde would like to understand one or two. Fortunately, Chair, most of the questions I had, especially technical ones, have already been asked. But just for clarity, I would like to know how many intelligence officers you had at State House, Pastor Ngwira. Chair, permission to engage him, the witness directly?
Yes, you proceed.
Yeah. So if you may respond, we'll be going like that. Thank you.
Chair, the challenge with that question, Chair, it may give an indication of how many intelligence officers are there at State House now. You know, that's a challenge that I have. Other than that, it wouldn't be a problem. But we had, for the first time, we had a lot more officers. Remember, Chair, no, not remember, but be informed that this time we had just finished a functional review that was approved in 2022. Because before then, people would just decide to chase our officers from State House because of historical reasons. And remember, in the time of President Kamuzu Banda, it was the special branch, the intelligence within the police that were protecting the president. The guard commander, everybody were. These camouflage that you see today, it started at the time of President Muruzi, you know. So, but people have, different countries have different systems. But in most countries that we benchmarked, because we had to benchmark, go around a number of countries in the region and elsewhere, see how they are doing it. We decided to settle that because of where we are today, all the systems must work together. So there is a structure on paper in the system, in the establishment warrant of the NIS, of how many officers are supposed to be at State House, as established by that structure. So we deployed, we had not even deployed a third according to that structure. So we had quite a number at State House. Thank you very much.
Chair.
Yeah, but before you go, so I've just noted one interesting observation, and it's a very good tactic you are using, is that when we pose your question, you are laughing.
Chair, it's not a tactic,
No,
Chair.
it's a very good tactic.
It is just joy, Chair.
Yeah, but I just want to underscore the seriousness of this question that we are posing. So when you laugh, it is like the question we're posing to you is useless. You know, maybe...
Chair, you would want me to be angry?
Serious.
No, Chair, it's my nature. Those who know me, they will tell you. There's nobody who is... Not nobody. I am very serious about national security.
Thank you.
But I shouldn't play theater here, Chair.
Thank you, Chair. Okay. I know, Chair, our privileges section under Section 21 of the Parliament allows officers like the DG to give information to committees like ours, unless, of course, if they have statutory certificates authorizing them to hide such information, especially in cases where that information would harm the country. Maybe out of interest, because it's mentioned a lot of times, through you, Chair, do you have such a certificate, Banangwina, or you don't have?
Chair, I didn't understand. Certificate of what, Chair? I would want to respond properly, Chair.
Okay, normally, when you're responding in your former capacity, you're not responding in your personalized capacity. Now, because this is a national duty, it's a national call, we are working on behalf of Malawians. Where there are sensitive matters, of course, like those that have that would do harm to our country, with reference to security, you may not be liable to disclose. But in such cases, you're supposed to get a statutory certificate authorizing you not to disclose. Otherwise, when a committee like ours calls you, you are supposed to give us information. That's my understanding, Chair. And I'm asking him, is he in possession of that certificate? Because if he's not, then he's supposed to be answering our questions, unless he produces the same as his defense. I submit, Chair. I just would like to know if he has.
Chair, may I respond?
Yes, Mr. Ngwira.
Chair, I am not a lawyer, but I have the grace that I know quite a bit of law from my academic qualifications, but also this document, the NIS Act, I was there from the time we were drafting it to the time it was passed in Parliament. The interface between the NIS and Parliament is prescribed in the Act. It is through the Defense and Security Committee of Parliament. It's one of the reasons why we insisted that the mandate of the Defense and Security Committee of Parliament must not be like other committees. That's why there you find it's 2.5 years. Actually, we wanted it must be a 5-year mandate, because you don't 1 year you share sensitive things to these ones, and they go 1 year, and you know how sometimes politics, like in other fields, where people sometimes are irresponsible. So, in terms of the DG or the minister, it doesn't mention of any certificate, may decide, you know, that if this is a threat to national security, he may not reveal. I know you speak about privileges of Parliament. I understand, but here is 2 laws. That's why initially, when I was supposed to come here, it was actually me that initiated the contact, because I wanted to ask the service, you know, have you cleared me to go there? Because if I say things here, according to the NIS Act, Section 14, it's 20 years imprisonment. And
Chair,
you know,
Chair, if you may allow me, maybe we may have to go forward in the interest of time. So maybe
I hope that suffices.
But it's clear? It's very clear.
It's clear. Let's move forward, because I've got... Okay, so you are confirming that you had a number of, a reasonable number of NIS officers at State House, and you had no single NIS officer at the VP's residence. That's what you said?
Yes, actually it was the first time to have a number of officers at State House. We had engaged the VP's office a number of times, but the response was negative.
Thank you. Now, lastly, in the north, you also had, you may not mention the number, but you had the reasonable number of officers representing your office in the north? Is that so?
Yes, Chair.
Okay, thank you. Now, during the day of the crash, you mentioned that one officer from Kia directly called you. Is that correct?
Yes, Chair.
Okay. And it's on record that during the okay, not on record per se, but it's rumored that during the crash, the officers that went to for the search, the first group was coming from the Central region. Are you other than the northern officers? Are you aware of that?
From the other formations, maybe. I know the team that constituted the Joint Operations Command Center, when they had exhausted their search through the communications, when they had established and had been told that there is possibilities in Chikangawa, they all agreed to move to join the physical search. So probably they are the ones you are saying from Central Region, and I mentioned in the report there. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, thank you. My interest was, I actually wanted you to confirm if your northern officers, just to confirm that your northern officers never took part in the search on the crash day.
That is a very serious lie, Chair. Thank you.
It's a very serious lie. Thank you so much. So we wanted that. Chair, we may have to cross-check that information at a later stage. Other than that, Mr. Dokani Ngwira, I would get back to a few comments that you made, starting with the sentiment that you made to say your NIS officers were not obliged to tell you if the late VP had arrived in the country or not. They were not obliged. And then we also refer to Section 4 of your Act, which gives a clear direction that one of your responsibilities is to protect the VVIPs. I wanted to understand, why did you say they were not obliged and yet he's the #2 VVIP in the country?
Chair, I said they were not obliged to report to me directly from Kia there, but the system, because the NIS is not me. You know, I am at the top of the NIS. Operationally, there are systems. So there can be an operation in Palombe, which I may not be aware of, but the NIS is conducting that operation, and if that operation is successful, they decide, do we report this? When they report to the regional intelligence officer, it's the regional intelligence officer who says, okay, I will report to the DG. So there are levels of reporting. It's not like I'm saying they were not obliged to tell me. They were not obliged to report to me directly. There's a chain of command. That's what I was trying to say. So to them, when they discharge their operations, the VP was seen through properly, that's fine. You know, they have done their job. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, Chair, I'm asking that question because, as you may recall, there have been a lot of, I would say, maybe let me not use laissez-faire, but if the NIS had known, I think a lot of decisions that involved the president and a few other high-ranking officers should have been cleared, because a lot of, I'm mentioning that, Pastor Gila, because a lot of interested or rather high-ranking officers have mentioned indicating like they didn't know, including the president. And we, personally, I was asking myself, why should the president not know of his or not know the arrival of his vice president? And in my thinking again, I expected you to be one of the responsible officers to alert the president, because this is the #2 citizen. In terms of ranking, he's the #2. But anyway, let's move forward.
Chair, I think a number of insinuations have been made, so I don't know how do we move forward.
No, you can correct them.
I need, because as you always say, your house is a house of records, Chair. The Vice President reports to the President. Maybe that's the first I must correct. And the Vice President traveling, coming in when he was supposed to report to the President, this is how I traveled, that does not threaten national security. Because we need to understand here, the intelligence business is for national security. When there is a threat to national security, people assume that we must report on everything. That's why in the past, people have assumed that, you are reporting on us when you have not reported even on them, because it's not part of your mandate. It's national security. What is a threat to national security? I thought I needed to correct that, Chair.
Thank you. And okay, let's move to another point for clarity as well. You mentioned that around 11 in your report, around 11 a.m., when you got a call from your officer, you immediately called the SPC. And I wanted to understand what was the reaction of the SPC when you called her?
Chair, should I correct? I don't know. But it was, I would say, shock. Because it wasn't even a long conversation, because it was like, I wanted to call you. Can we immediately leave for State House? And that was that. And then when I found them, everybody was basically shocked. Yeah, maybe let me leave it there, Chair.
Thank you, Chair. Chair, I just want you to take note of the time and link with other witnesses, including Dr. Squese and indeed the Army General. But let's move forward. Another one, you mentioned that the signal was found around the tower at the Laiplai, because that was taken when the aircraft was flying.
Chair, I said that was my assumption, that because from Airtel, the information that came from Airtel or TNM, it was that the signal, the Airtel, the Laiplai Tower had picked the signal of one of the phones. I think it was a medical officer. That is what necessitated people now to come to Chikangawa. And it was specifically the Laiplai Tower.
Thank you so much. But former DG, as an intelligent person, you know that you were tracing live phones that were on that time. And I therefore, I wanted to understand how the search was targeting phones that were on then, and then how could they be tracing a phone that was maybe 2 hours or 3 later. It hardly made sense to me, Chair. And that's why I wanted your clarity, because if these phones were traced after the crash, Chair, I'm finding it difficult to understand why the signal could be found in Chikangawa. So maybe you may elaborate, Former DG.
Chair, I don't know, after the crash, I don't know where it is coming from, Chair. I don't know what you have on record, at what time was that signal picked from the technical people that came here. Maybe it's even, you can even get Airtel, because they're not in Zambia, they're here, Chair. You can get them what time. Now, about the other phones after the crash, I don't have that information.
Okay, let me get it this way. Did you start the search before the crash or before the missing?
I don't understand your question.
I'm responding to your response where you're saying you don't know. Why I'm saying after the crash. I'm saying after the crash because my assumption is the search only started when the plane was missing. And it is on record that the plane crashed at 10:16. So are you insinuating that you started the crash before 10:16? I mean the search before 10:16?
There is no way I'm insinuating that, Chair. There is no way I'm insinuating. And what time, Chair, probably your committee may have more information than you have the whole infrastructure. It's just me trying to correct what happened. What time is it on record that that signal was picked by Airtel? That led people to go to Chikangawa.
What is on record was that, and is that, this signal was picked when there was distress.
What time?
Obviously, the plane was supposed to land at about 10:02 or somewhere thereabout. And the search, from records, the search never started before 10:16. So what you're saying may be indicating a different and a new item in this inquiry. No. And that's why I just wanted to understand why searching for a phone line which is on the crash could do, in your view, as an intelligent person, could be indicating somewhere in Chikangawa.
Chair, let me put it this way. I'm getting a bit fuzzy, and I must confess with the line of questioning. I report what we were briefed. The SPC got in touch with Mr. Sikwese, Dr. Sikwese, to get the phone numbers for everybody on board, and those phone numbers were shared with the service providers. And the service providers, when they were checking all the numbers, the only number that they picked, I'm not too sure about the time, I've already said, for me to be recording what time, that would be it will be a futile exercise. But basically, the one of the phone numbers that picked, you know, is the one that picked on the tower at Reply. And that is how people, when you look, if you listen even to other submissions, the search was starting at Reply because of that signal. I'm not private to exactly what time that signal was picked or when the search started. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, as I wind up, Chair, I would also like to just a concern. As NIS, you are the ones mandated with intelligence information, which is critical. And in this case, I will keep referring to the former, the late VP as the number 2 VVIP. And when you were asked by one of my colleagues, I'm not sure if it's Dezagasina or Mwaza Central, about the CCTV, you mentioned that that one is under the jurisdiction of the Malawi police. But I was made to think that after a serious incident like this one, you might have developed, you were supposed to develop interest to really find out what might have happened. And therefore, you are supposed to engage the police and find out what happened using the CCTV. I think it was led by Branta Malabada. I expected you to have mentioned something to do with what you might have gathered from the CCTVs after the crash. Did you do it?
May I respond, Chair? I have submitted, Chair, what I recollect. And I am aware that there is a lot more information on the reports that were there in the service. That's why I've even said you may engage the service. All that information is there. You know, so because the intelligent product does not belong to a person. It belongs to the system, and this the NIS. So for me, who is out of the system, all I'm trying to recollect is what do I recollect from the critical information that I remember. Yes. What I was telling you about, it's the prerogative of the police. I'm just telling you the system at the airport, how it is, the CCTVs are managed, that they are managed by the police. So that is basic. But you engaging the intelligence, even today, they can still investigate and find out what if it was missed. You know, the capacity is there. Thank you, Chair.
And Chair, okay, would you also comment anything on the VPs? When Madam Merijiri came, she mentioned that other than the phones took long to be handed over to the family, but one phone is still missing. Are you aware of that?
Chair, I'm not aware of that.
Chair, this is quite concerning to me because the intelligence system doesn't know. It's just a concern. But maybe let's move forward.
Chair, intelligence is not an angel of God. Intelligence works with resources on the ground and information that is available. what is happening between the police and the Madam Mary Chirima, and she only mentions here, she never mentioned in the past, because it's the first time I heard when she mentioned here. And you can engage Madam Mary Yoram, she can confirm, because one witness says this, and that's a widow. And sometimes we weep and we mourn in different ways. You know, thank you very much, Chair.
The very last one, Chair. I want to understand, because from the witnesses that we've engaged with, it looks like nobody really wants to take responsibility. And with reference to their mandate. So I wanted to understand, in what role did you play as the former DG? You were obviously expected to advise the president, including how to manage the search, how to manage events during the search after the crash. What role did you personally play in your role as DG on the day? Major things that I know you've mentioned the aspects like your involvement in the technical intelligence, covering aspects like core tower pings, satellite data, and a few more. But I wanted to understand what influence, what guidance did you give to the leadership, if at all you did something during the day of the crash? Thank you.
So let's put the president there. The president cannot be involved in the search and rescue operations. The president is only reported to. You know, between the systems of government, you know, so when you say what role, I need to share a point out here. The NIS is a system that has officers across the country, every district, every place. Now, these systems have reporting channels. They report only which they see, for the DG must know. Where the DG maybe can assist in certain decisions at a strategic level. Operationally, you know, the system was engaged fully, operationally, which some of the things me as a DG may not have to know. But as long as things worked or things didn't work, maybe that's what has to be interrogated. But NIS provided, even the intelligence about these conspiracies that I speak about, all that was provided to government. That government needs to watch and prepare maybe strategic communication or engaging certain stakeholders. All that was done. And the people even went to the chiefs in Shehu there to try to pacify them. That's where it was, you know, even discovered that a lot of damage had been done. You know, so the service was fully involved, of which I was in charge as a DG. But a DG is a strategic level. It's not an operational level. Thank you, Chair.
I get to Chair. Just clarification, the very last one. I'll not come back. You mentioned earlier on that you had 5 teams. In each of the 6 teams, your officers were there. And that made me think you may be, I expect this to be reporting to your office through the line channels. And I wanted to understand what's in your office. What was the state of the Vice President's phone on the crash site? Do you know anything, or you were not reported to, considering that your officers were on the ground?
Chair, the IG reports to the President. The DG reports to the President. The Commander reports to the President. What is in the purview of the Commander, if the Commander is handling, if the DG is reasonable, you'll expect that it has been reported to the President or otherwise. So for me, the phones that were handed over to the IG, it had basically nothing. For me, and my understanding was that it is being kept for purposes of either investigation or maybe finally handing over to the family. So that what, and remember, as I said, when the site was cordoned off, because my officers don't declare themselves, they were not amongst those allowed to access the site. It was only the police and the military, because they were uniformed, they would know each other.
So you are suggesting your officers don't have IDs to identify themselves before the police and the army?
I said operationally it is not advisable for intelligence officers to introduce themselves.
Chair, I may have to stop there.
Chair.
Yeah, let's move to the next one. I would like to recognize somebody who has not asked any question. So can I start with you, Molanje North, then we go to Doha Kasangazi. Okay.
Thank you very much, Chair. Just a few questions, Pastor Ngira. The first one is on the mandate. Section 4F, I think, yeah, it was referred to by the Chair as well. And also you being one of the people that are involved in drafting of this, I'm sure you are quite aware of it. It mandates your service to protect VVIPs. And given the statutory duty, I just want to find out, did your institution have a specific security and risk assessment for the Vice President, the travel to the North on 9th, is it on 10th June?
No.
Where your office, was it expected to do the assessment as an institution with the Vice President being a VVIP with an intention to travel from Lilongwe to Mzuzu? Were you not expected to do an assessment?
Chair, upon request, we do, and we were doing. The challenge, that's why I was referring to the political history of our system, because when we have tried to be proactive, it has been construed as if you are trying to spy on us. So on request, and a lot of systems have requested, Reserve Bank and everybody, and we have deployed those operations and assisted. Thank you.
Now, you've mentioned so much about, your concern, the paramount concern is where there is a threat to national security. Is that correct?
Very correct.
Now, were you aware that the platform or the aircraft that was being used to ferry VVIPs had a defective tracking system?
Chair, I was not aware, and I have ridden on that aircraft a number of times, maybe 7 times.
Were you aware that Mzuzu Aerodrome at the material time was not licensed to get any sort of plane to land on it?
Chair, we're very aware. That is why, even a lot of work was being done on Mzuzu to make sure that it gets to a point that it gets licensed. But for a Donia can land even on a football ground if it is long enough.
Yes, but I just wanted to see whether you were aware that...
we were aware.
Now, would operating or ferrying a VVIP, including the President, in a plane with a defective tracking system qualify as a threat to national security?
It could, especially if it is operated by civilian actors. But this plane was operated by the Maritime Defense Force.
Again, would allowing the head of state or even the VIP to land on an unlicensed aerodrome or airport, would that qualify as a threat to the national security?
Chair, I think the national security does not include taking away the prerogative of experts who handle those platforms. Because I'll be commenting on something that I am not competent technically to comment or to comment on. Because the military, from the time of Camus, they are the ones who have handled aircrafts by the VVIPs from Camus up to now. And they have always done well. Of course, this is an accident, and probably the first one where VVIP is involved. Very unfortunate, but for me to, I can't commit to such a declaration. It will be how do I put it? It would be me not being truthful.
As your former institution, which you headed, was it not necessary that you should be aware of the state of the platform or the aircraft that carried the VVIPs, so that you can give proper advice regarding the safety of the occupants?
Chair, let me put it this way. Government does not spy on government unless you have picked up a very evident serious threat to national security. Maybe you have information that the military want to take over government. But also, that is one of the reasons why I've referred to the critical importance of the National Security Council. Because these things are supposed to be brought on the table where all the service chiefs are there, and you know the challenges there, you know the challenges there. So unfortunately in our system, it depends on the goodwill of people sharing information or ad hoc arrangements. So it will be expecting to, and remember, in terms of even the service, and I wouldn't want to go, in as much as we improved even the numbers, you know, very exponentially, the numbers were still very much below, you know, by so much percentage. I don't want to, because it would be like exposing, you know, challenges and the like, you know. So you must still bear in mind, just like the military, you know, this is a service that was operating within an environment of serious challenges, resource-wise and everything. But a lot of that information normally comes where there are structures established by law, like the national security, that obliges systems or services to share this information on the open table, so that even the leadership at the top there understands these things very well. Thank you, Chair.
Finally, did you, as an institution, whether you personally or your officers, ever report the status of Mzuzu airdrome not being licensed, and that being a danger to the VVIPs?
Chair, not just to the VVIPs. That's one of the reasons why Malawian Airlines and the other commercial airlines were not flying there, you know, because it was not in good state. Even the efforts to improve it and so that we open up the channel there in the north was coming partly, not wholly, but partly from some of our reports. But we must all understand, this was a military aircraft. The only military aircraft that was bought for VVIPs was that Puma. You know, before, and the time of Kamuzu, he had the Puma, he had the jet. The jet was for long hauls, and the Puma was for local running. After the Puma was grounded, the VVIPs basically were borrowing the aircraft, which under normal circumstances they're not supposed to be using. You know, so, and yet at the same time, you wouldn't expect the military to say, no, you can't use it. You know, it's in our environment that we operate in. And you know, at the rate of how we change the commanders of MDF, you know, here, you know. So that's what I can say, Chair.
Now, finally, so from the evidence or from the testimonies that we've heard that this plane, the ill-fated plane, did not have a tracking device, commonly known as ELT. At the time of the accident, both the pilots did not have updated medical certificates or records. Where the plane was going, the aerodrome was not licensed. All these were, so who should be held accountable for allowing this aircraft to ferry or to travel around ferrying VVIPs?
Chair, let me respond this way. Unless it is critically important that we force matters to find somebody accountable. Because sometimes an investigation must be that how do we improve so that this never happens again, you know? Because sometimes you may ask yourself this question, did any of these cause the accident? Because you may be finding accountability maybe on a peripheral issue, you know? That is why every accident, type of accident, whether it's a fire accident, aircraft accident, homicide, whatever, has got its own experts that look at the critical issues. My advice here, Chair, when it comes to such questions, you need to take a leaf seriously from the report that the German Aviation Authority did, because they are the experts. We don't even have that expertise in Malawi to see what critical things are looked at in aviation accidents. Otherwise, instead of healing, we may just be perpetuating this. Now I speak as a national security advisor. Thank you very much, Chair.
Thank you.
Dawa Kasangas and then Lilong Moody. Okay, can we just let the others exhaust? Yeah.
Thank you very much, Chair. I have just one question for the former Director General. Did you gather any information relating to the cause of the accident in question?
Chair, we attempted. I should say that, you know, we attempted, but by the end of the day, it is in the attempting where sometimes you learn how much incapacitated you are, to not because you have not done enough to have that capacity, but that capacity is not supposed to have to be in your system. That is why for us, we dwell so much on the how do I put it, the German report. Of course, some people, there were information that maybe, you know, the principal, you know, wanted by all means to go to the funeral, you know, so they were trying to land in Chikangawa, but that would be speculation without any proper evidence, you know. Yes, because to say that we gathered any tangible information to the cause of the accident as National Intelligence Service would be lying, Chair. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Honorable Chairperson. It's just a few questions for confirmation for record's sake. Former DG, I would want you to confirm. If you want to add any comment, you can add, but would you confirm to this committee that the information you have is that the search started around 11 when the aircraft did not arrive in Nzuzu? Can you confirm to that? Is that correct?
I cannot confirm the exact time, to be honest, but it started immediately. They noted that the plane has not returned to Lilongwe, because it seemed like there may have been information that the plane is returning to Lilongwe. But looking at their timing, that is why they constituted the Joint Aviation Command Center, which is the normal practice in an aviation accident. Yes, thank you.
Thank you so much. That will help us. The second confirmation I want is, did you actually tell this committee that your office, when you were there, you offered the office of the VP to have NIS staff, but you never got a response as to agree to that offer or not? Did you tell us that?
Yes, we did.
Okay. Thank you very much. And the third one is, I want to ask you if you are competent enough to tell this committee on how military aircrafts operate, because we have been told they operate different than civilian aircrafts. So are you competent enough to tell us about the airports where military aircrafts are supposed to land, or the tracking device that is supposed to be on the military aircraft? Are you competent enough to tell us that?
Chair, I am not competent.
Thank you so much. Chair, my last one is a comment. I think on the issue of phones by the VP, the former VP, late Dr. Chirima, we have only had one evidence from in this committee that the phones did not go to the madam in time, but we have it on record that at the funeral ceremony, the relative of the late vice president made mention about the funds and the property that it has been given to them. So I think it will be up to us as a committee to further investigate it instead of using that as a basis of our evidence and then ask more questions about why it did not happen. I thought I should just make that observation and appeal to you, Chair, if we could actually get more evidence about the funds themselves instead of maybe making some comments that will make people think otherwise. Thank you, Chair.
Sure. We can't be conclusive because we haven't gone to search and rescue, where we will look at a chain of custody of funds and property and everything else. So, yeah, at this stage, nothing is conclusive. Thank you. Okay, so can we just be very brief now for you guys that are making supplementary? I need the chair, the vice chair to finalize. So Mwanza and then Deza and then Deza Mayani.
Chair, just a supplementary on the safety and risk assessment. Is it mandatory or you do it? I want to confirm because I think I got it that you are, if you are requested to conduct a safety and risk assessment. So I just want to be clear whether it is indeed upon a request or you are mandatory as an intelligence department to assess the risk or safety issues where the VVIP is going to.
Chair, let me put it. It's either way. It's not either way, but both ways. For example, where he was going to Karabe, you know, basically officers will be on the ground. If they pick up anything, they will engage with the team that goes advance for the VP side or anything. Now, it is mandatory, you know, where possible, to protect the VVIPs. Now, the nature of the protection, that is within the tradecraft or the modus operandi or concepts of operation of the service. Now, on request, there are specific areas, especially because of the dynamics where officers were not actually placed within his office. Because the normal system elsewhere is officers must actually be placed within his office, and the actors, you know, they interchange. So, but with the lack of that, people worked, and a number of times that has been actually, you know, acknowledged that we have done that. But the environment, to be honest, even I wouldn't want to mention the current environment because I'm not involved. But looking at where we are coming from, it has been a difficult environment. But it has to do with our political system, not the two offices. It's our political system in its entirety. Sometimes the two offices wouldn't be having the challenges that they have if it wasn't or it isn't for the environment or the way we are politically structured as a nation. Thank you.
Yeah. Last one, Chair. You have mentioned political environment, political, you know, you've mentioned it several times. What was the political environment? Can you tell this committee? Because you've mentioned it that several times that because of the political environment, Can you explain what was the political environment?
Let me be blunt, because I've been sometimes in one or two meetings where the vice president, the president is there and I'm there. You know, what we picked up was that some leaders in the UTM would be trying to convince even the VP, even to get out of the alliance And this started quite early, 2021, And some leaders in the MCP will be trying to convince President Chakwera that let's kick them out of the alliance. So when I speak of political environment, it's not just the two people, because they're operating in an environment. Now, Chair, let's be honest with each other. For 31 years, this country had no vice president. The first time we had a vice president was 1994. My take from a national security perspective is that we are yet to grow into a system that knows probably even laws have to change, because countries, they say where they have the deputy president has specific function, like in South Africa, where he handles parliament and things like those. So these are conversations, Chair, that maybe it will be stretching from the point of view of your committee, because what transpired after the accident it's also very important, in as much as us looking at the accident not happening again the way it happened, or the way the search and rescue happened, because there are questions we are not honest to ask each other about in the political environment we are operating in. I thought, Chair, that's what I basically meant.
Yeah, Chair, that's what I wanted to find out. So the political environment, you want to confirm that you picked that there were people in MCP, leaders, who were saying let's kick them out of the alliance, and there were leaders in UTM who were asking the late Chirima to get out of the alliance. You picked that as an intelligence director.
Obvious, and I believe not only me, even members of the public. It was very obvious.
I think.
That's why I used the word it is a given fact at the beginning, and you questioned me. So now you're confirming that there was. But anyways, besides the point, it's good that we're interacting freely, and I appreciate that. Okay, good. Can we just one more so we conclude? Right.
Chair, thank you very much. I just wanted to get some parting statements. And you bear with me, there are about four lines that I just wanted to get a clarification from him. Some of them were supposed to be actually asked in the beginning. So I just wanted you to understand your background. You said you've been with NIS since 1997. Did I got you correct?
Yes, Chair.
When did you finally leave NIS?
I left NIS in October 2025. But Chair, on and off, because I am one of those species that has been fired and rehired frequently by the government.
Okay, thank you. I just wanted to understand some technical terms. We are saying National Intelligence Service. Is this a spying agent, or can you describe it? Is it a spying agent?
Chair, maybe there comes a time for certain things to be demystified. When you say intelligence, it's simply processed information. And more than 95% of the intelligence information, the source is public information. Only that the intelligence officer has the science, because intelligence is a science. There are countries like in Kenya, they even have a university where people do PhDs in strategic intelligence analysis and all other things. So how you process, because you have to triangulate, correlate, is this true? Because the proper intelligence system does not report lies. You can't be disinforming your principles. You disinform an enemy, Now, for national intelligence, normally what we call espionage, where you have to spy and deploy certain intrusive mechanism, is usually 2, 3, maybe at the stretch 5% of the intelligence information. Majority of the information is in the public domain. But when it is gathered, it has to be processed for decision-making mostly. I hope I have assisted, Chair.
I just wanted to understand from that point to say, what's the difference between what you do and the police CID and others who do a similar way. What's the difference between the two of you? Because if I fail to understand that, then I might judge you maybe wrongly. So I just wanted to understand from that aspect. Then I shall ask my final questions, because there is a basis why I'm asking that. Thank you.
In simple terms, Chair, the CID, they investigate crimes that have already taken place. That's why in a normal, for example, like the US, they have more than 15 intelligence systems, each one, because they have the money, you know. Other countries have got two, one for external, like Uganda and the like, one for domestic. But for us, the national intelligence, both domestic and external are in one service. Now, even the police are supposed to have their own intelligence system, besides the investigations, so that they are able to profile these gangs and what before. So there are certain things they can swat before the crimes actually take place. Now, for intelligence, is basically before the threat becomes a cancer, or before the threat hits and causes harm to people in the country, this must be discovered. And then, you know, yes. So, and intelligence, maybe, so Chair, you allow me the grace. It doesn't come, you know, maybe after this, maybe it will be another 90 years before one of me species comes here. Intelligence, there is operational intelligence. Who did what and what, and then there is a strategic intelligence. How systems are, you know, deployed. Are these systems strong? What takes for a strong nation? Those kind of things. So maybe that's what I can say, Chair. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you so much. The background I was asking those questions is to understand in one of your statements where you said you had found out that there were these other dangerous kind of trends or threats, such that in your statement, I just wanted to make sure that I point to that statement where you are recommending to say there is need for further investigations. I think it was in your point 11, on your submission on point 11, you are saying there is need for further investigation. At the end, it would, let me read it. It would only be for fair, it would be fair if accountability would be considered by way of further investigation on who incited these developments and for what purpose, so that it should never happen again. So now I'm going back to your recommendation or your advice. At that time, you had all this information, and you stayed in office for 1 year. Almost 1.5 years. I'm trying to look at 2024, June to October 2025, almost 1 year. And you had all this information, and now you are making a submission. I wanted to understand, after you have done all this intelligence gathering, how is that information used, such that to me it's like you had an information which was never used, if I understand you well, and now you are coming to the committee to say we need further investigation. But him was the kind of the investigator, and that was the aim of their office. So that's why I'm finding it to say, why did you took 1 year? Or were there some offices which maybe didn't do their work properly as far as this issue was concerned? And finally, when you are replying to that, Chair, I just wanted to part ways on why do you still call these conspiracies? Because that's the statement you have used, is calling them conspiracies, some of the conspiracy theories. Yeah, so I just wanted him to qualify. Let me stop there, Chair. Thank you very much.
Chair, the intelligence information was used maybe not efficiently, I think that's why, Chair, I referred earlier on to, in terms of the mandate of your committee, how critical is the component of accountability, or how critical is the component of deploying redressive measures, so that some of these things don't happen, you know. But if accountability is one of them, we operate in an environment, and I keep going back to the political environment. Remember, one of the challenges that we picked up, of course, was that the accident happened 24th June. Of course, you can't use assumptions on an accident like that. But imagine if it had happened in 2021, you know, to somebody else or anybody, even the president, God forbid. But the traffic of the conversations, I don't want to call it noise, because it was not random noise, you know. It was things that, because we're entering a very politically sensitive, we're going towards the elections. And you can't fully blame people, because people take, you know, anything that is cannon fiber, you use it for purposes of electioneering. So to put it bluntly, this accident was used a lot for electioneering. If you listen to the likes of Bagiri Muruzi TV, the likes of Ntanyiwa, it was serious. And some of the, of course, the figures behind there, you know, you begin to understand a certain picture. Now, one of the things that people do here is basically what they call counter-propaganda within the government systems. Now, the government system and the political party are different things, you know. Now, so for me, I say conspiracy because of what resulted, you know, in the end, that people believe certain things, that when some of us look at it and say, okay, how do people get to believe these things? But it's because of the conversations that resulted from these things, where you actually were able to notice that certain people are driving a certain agenda. Some people were honestly, you know, trying to ask questions. I mean, that you can't dissuade. And they were entitled to ask those questions. But there were a certain kind of people that were deliberate about what they are trying to do. That is what I was trying to read to. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. I think it's now two and a half hours gone, and we have the Vice Chairman, and then we close. Oh, yes. We had you. There's a casino. So can you have the floor? So we don't go backwards. Sorry about that. Yeah.
Chair, I'll not take. I had written so much of them, but because of time, Chair, I know we have another, so I'll not go through it. Pastor, I'm also in another world. In this committee, I prophesy and pray. In the book of Isaiah, and if you go in the book of Joshua, in the Bible, the Lord says, "Do not fear, because I'm with you wherever you go." So you as a pastor, you know very well that we have God as our shield. Don't you think you need God as your shield in this committee?
Chair.
If we go to your bread number 9, can we use that as a pastor? If you go to your bread number 9, where you are mentioning of a senior political leader of Afford. I know that matter was closed, Chair said, but now you as a pastor, should we still be afraid?
Can I respond, Chair? That's a challenge. Chair, I know you know, let me not go there, but I was going to say that.
No, maybe
you
just
understand the
maybe you've had a rethink. Maybe just comment.
Chair, briefly, you know, that is why a prophet is not a teacher of the word. You know, maybe let me put it that way. People may have both gifts. It's fine. They may occupy both offices. So the Bible, you can't just get one verse and run with it. Then we move people to the mountain after one verse. But basically, you also need to use wisdom. You know, you also need to use wisdom, because God has given us wisdom. You know, by the end of the day, I have very young children, to be honest. I mean, I have to tell you that even now, my pension is not paid. So later on, let me tell you the truth. Later on, I'm talking about physical protection. People may decide this man will never receive his pension. Already the noise I hear why they are not paying my pension. Sometimes they are like, okay, we wait. So we are trusting God. But I thought, I really, if I felt the committee would protect me, by the grace of God, yeah, I mean, I have nothing basically to hide.
But just, Chair, I know you're that close. I wanted to understand this senior political leader of Afford. Is it documented if the committee want to talk to the current DG rather, will be able to get the name?
Chair, the information must be there. But remember, I put a caveat because I'm a very practical person. I said, depending on the existence of institutional memory, because with our transitions how we behave, so you find that.
I got that, Chair.
Yes.
Institutional memory, to me, you're referring to the human aspect of it.
Yes,
the members, the personnel are still there. Almost everyone who was there then. But I'm looking about documentation, because I believe this was transcribed somewhere else.
Yeah. So Chair, I'll put it this way. So we were trying to build a professional intelligence system. And I need to say this on record. That is one of the reasons, one of the battles that some of us were involved, not that we're fighting that battle, but those that belong probably to the MCP will agree with me, and we're all here. It was like, I'm not serving the interests of the ruling party, I mean, I've been invited sometimes to certain meetings. You are not chasing cadets here. I mean, I must say the truth. And the good thing is the president was very supportive. You understand? People have gone there, fire him. He's keeping cadets. But I said, I'm keeping intelligence officers. Which political color they come to, that's another issue. Intelligence has a way of handling those things. Now, what is happening now, I don't know. That is why I say, in the context of institutional memory being there, because an intelligence system must be apolitical. It is an independent state institution. It's not a department of government. I need to emphasize that.
All right, maybe let's go there, because I think that I was just coming in that time I had some mental, Chair.
You're going to wind up?
Yes, I need to wind up, Chair. There are three things I want you to talk. I want you to answer me briefly in 30 seconds. You have already done much of explanation. You said the funds for the Vice President were handed quicker before further investigations. I wanted you to clarify on that one. What kind of investigations you want?
That is what I know.
Yes, so I wanted to, what type of investigation you think were never did before the handing over of that?
Like for me, like the time, maybe by the time the Germans were being involved, maybe if the phones were still in the custody of, police, because remember there was no, what you call a black box or what, and maybe the communications, you understand. But in a normal system, you don't get phones from the family members, and then you say, let's investigate. After 2 years, that is a futile exercise. Thank you, Chair.
I know in MDF there's some, I think, intelligence. How do you work with other intelligence of the other states?
The military intelligence, we work a lot together. Even now, I know, because technically, the human trafficking and all other things, the systems work together, even with the police.
On this day, on this particular event, did you work together in MDF intelligence?
The officers were together, but the reporting channels are different.
Very lastly, NIS Act, I think do you have the Act yourself there? Well, I wanted you to read for me Section 21. What does it read? I'm interested on Section 1, not subsection 1. I know it has A, B, where it talks about certification. Can you read for me? After that, Chair, I'm done.
The Minister or Director General of the Service shall not be required to produce before Parliament any document or other evidence as the Director General certifies. As the Director General certifies. That's why I had advised Parliament to contact the NIS, but also advise the service to get in touch because of this, Chair.
Clear? The Vice Chair can conclude his questions.
Thank you so much, Chairperson.
Former DG Chikangawa, good evening.
Sir.
I think one of the disadvantages of being a vice chair is that you are put at the end when everybody has asked the questions. So please bear with me if some of the questions might seem repetitive to you, but I just want to get more meat. You did start with, I think at a certain point there was a, you were just joking about it. You said you are now a villager. You are now a farmer. Did I hear you well?
Yes, yes, sir.
How are you finding life now as a villager and a farmer?
In some ways enlightening, but you can also see I've put on a bit of weight. It means, yeah, less pressure. Still adjusting when you know you're used to doing something for half of your life. Yeah. Thank you, Chair.
No, thank you so much. I noticed that one of your qualifications, professional qualifications, is business administration, and I've also worked in water boards. That's why I thought maybe I should be confident that as a farmer you're doing very well, irrigation and what have you.
Yeah, I'm actually doing well as a farmer, to be honest, at my level. I am not a mega farmer yet, but I'm doing well.
And at the same time, we're also a pastor. Chair, can the also witness also just advise us on his competence or qualifications as an intelligence person? Can you take that?
So I joined the National Intelligence Service, or National Intelligence Bureau then, in 1997. Before we started work, we were sent to Taiwan, Chikangawa, where we did our basic intelligence training. And after that, I have done quite a number of trainings. I don't like to mention because sometimes you can mention training like killing people, which is not good. But basically, even at leadership level, even of late, even my former boss, the then president, allowed me even to go to a number of still training at leadership level. Yes. So I've been to Israel, even Harvard, to do international and national security. Yes.
Thank you very much. So as an intelligence expert, I'm sure you made the recommendations to the then president regarding how the systems, I should quote unquote, systems were working, because you have mentioned that in your submission. Those recommendations, are you sure are going to find them with the current DG?
Yes, even the law commission, because I was personally the one after the former president advised. I formally wrote to start the processes, the law commission. The commission was even appointed, if I'm not mistaken, yes, to take up those things, because it's very critical as far as I'm concerned.
Thank you. Can you also confirm that there is a documentation available in the current DG's office where you requested for an intelligence officer to be placed in the VP's office?
No, I can't confirm that. In his current office, I can't confirm that there's documentation. But there was engagement, verbally.
What was verbal engagement? So should we take you seriously on that verbal verbal interaction, because we can't confirm, can we?
Chair, I can't tell you whether you take me serious or you don't take me serious, but I am obliged to report under oath, and I am saying this under oath.
Yeah, Chair, because I wanted to get that in terms of documentation, because where we expect his office to also provide intelligence services for the second citizen, and he does not, and using an excuse that he was never responded to. We needed the documentation on that one. So if it's verbal, Chair, I would still take him and say, maybe there should be a reason why he was not engaging the Vice President, because there's no documentation to show that he engaged the Vice President, and the Vice President did not revert to his office.
Chair, I will tell you something that I told my former boss when he had just appointed me. I learned because some people were trying to pull. Some ministers, you are supposed to report to me, so he asked me a question. Where are you supposed to report? So I told him something that, unfortunately in this country, that time, there were only 4 people who had experience at being a president. And it is President Muluzi, President Joyce Banda, and President Peter Mutharika, and President Chikangawa. The rest of us are just advisors. We have never been presidents. We don't know what it means to be in that office. So we make a lot of assumptions. A lot of things in government, when you're a president, or a leader, you don't have to document, but things still move. You know, so especially when it comes to national security, I thought maybe I needed to say that. But between the two of them, God knows. God knows. But what I know is, I think to the extent that politicians can be, they were sincere between each other.
Chair, I will ask you maybe to reconsider that submission earlier that he engaged the Vice President, because we can't prove it as a committee. And maybe that also opens a lot of questions to why the office of the NIS was not working with the Vice President. I think that might be food for thought. Moving forward, I also...
Chair, allow me, you know. This is a house of record. This is my submission. Can I respond? You know, I did not say it was not working with the office of the Vice President. I said physically deploying an officer within his office. That's what I said. But working with the office of the Vice President, the NIS was working with the office of the Vice President. Even when the Vice President summons heads, we would go and hear what he's saying. You know, so I thought I needed to clarify there. We were working with the office of the Vice President as NIS. And I assume even this, the trend must continue, because it can't be otherwise.
Thank you very much. There are still more questions, so still bear with me. You said you are mandated with ensuring state security, and that can also mean national security. So whether the president has got personal enemies, those enemies become state enemies, because they're threatening the life of the president. Automatically, I think those ones should be threatening state security. Can you confirm?
I can't confirm, Chair, because sometimes the president may be drunk, you know, so you have to have proper intelligence that there is a threat on his life. And a lot of the threats on the president doesn't even know there was a threat until it was neutralized. There are times when only when you want the president to behave in a certain way that maybe you can inform the president. There are a lot of threats that are neutralized on his life that he is not even aware. And that's the nature of things.
No, what I wanted to drive home is that presidents, vice presidents are people. They have got friends and enemies. So the late vice president, I think there are submissions that have been made before this committee that was good, had a lot of friends and a lot of enemies. I think it has been submitted, it's documented. So I wanted to know if these enemies of the late vice president, you as NS director, also took them as enemies of the state, in the sense that they might be threatening state security.
So, Chair, the NIS operates in a democratic environment. Now, sometimes in political language, enemy can be loosely opponent. Opponent is not an enemy. So the service does not pander to narrow political interests of a certain group of people. It's national security interests, and that is that. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, I'll move on. We have also gotten submissions from you that you worked with other countries. I think you mentioned America.
We requested assistance.
Assistance, yes, of course. So those 3 nations that you mentioned, are these our traditional friends that may be around the 10th maybe some of them were also in the country, maybe helping us as friends.
They are our traditional friends, but basically using satellite systems. Thank you, Chair.
Still, I want to get the question answered. Were these friends also around within the country before the incident on the 10th, or maybe immediately after?
No, Chair. It was basically to ask them to assist with their systems to track the plane, and that was all.
Chair, I still want to get an answer. I'm saying these are our friends. These are our friends. So I want you to tell us, were these friends also in the country? Because they are friends. So you are asking them for help after this has happened, but maybe they could be within the country as friends. Can you confirm that maybe some of them are within the country as friends?
Not that I'm aware of, but maybe, Chair, let me say this. Intelligence cooperation, is an established system within the global intelligence community. And the same way presidents have ambassadors, intelligence chiefs have liaison officers that are deployed in embassies, like in South Africa, everywhere. So it is those liaison officers that were requested, to ask their hosts, their parent systems to assist. So it was basically contacting on a phone with the liaison officer of a particular service. Nothing that, I know, I've heard myself as well. As I said, this country will have rumors a lot, but there's nothing like that.
Chairperson, still bear with me because I'm the last.
Sorry.
Okay.
So, if we don't talk about the Israelis, then we are just brushing things over, because we're touching on it, and you have alluded to this fact. And he's asking a question, but I want us to be more direct. One of our partners, intelligence partners, it is alleged that they were in the country at the time of the plane crash. Are you aware or not? Is it true or not that these partners were here in Malawi?
Chair, it is a lie, and a big one.
Okay, so what will happen if it is discovered that they were in the country?
I'm at your disposal, Chair. You are the chair of the committee, but what I'm telling you, it is a lie.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chairperson. Moving on. Taking into your presentation, I think it is bullet number 10, where it reads, who had allegedly been offered lots of alcohol and money by some politicians. I wanted you to speak to us because you are giving us information that, in your own words, you said is processed information as NIS. Is this processed?
Chair, I think I was very clear that the limitation that I have had is trying to recollect, things that what I can remember as things that are there. Now, what I couldn't remember, I've not put there. That is why I even said you can cross-check with the service, because this piece of information is in the custody of the service. It should be, because as DG, I processed this. That is all I'm saying.
No, thank you so much. I was just suspicious because you used the word allegedly, meaning that maybe the processing was not completely done to establish that this is a fact. But when you use a word like allegedly, I'm thinking maybe it's not this is not completely processed. So I thought maybe if it's not completely processed, since you are giving us processed information, maybe you could take it out. Like you have taken out bullet number 9 at the end there, where you said this was the root of conspiracy theories. You took out the root.
Yes.
And I'm happy with that.
Yes.
So I'm also giving you an opportunity. If this allegedly is because you have not processed the information, this is the opportunity to take it out.
Chair, it is not the job, when I say I processed, it means it went through my hands. But it's not the job of the DG to process information. There's a whole department that does. Now, that is why you find at the end, because as I said, I am trying to recorrect things. That's why I've even advised the committee that further investigations must take place. unless, Chair, you are saying it is not necessary to do investigation on something serious as that, when we know the consequences of what happened.
Chair, I think we have communicated there. In this submission, there should be processed information that we should take seriously because it's processed information. What is hearsay and unprocessed, we might want maybe to pack it somewhere. I'll move on, Mr. Dokani-Gwira, if you'd allow me. So finally, Chair, I wanted to go back to the issue of the systems, because that's where I started from. Working with the MDF, working with the police intelligence systems, including the airport. In your submissions as recommendations to the head of state then and maybe other institutions, the CCTV that were not working there, I'm sure you might have made a recommendation, because without the CCTV data, I think this committee also finds some challenges. So in terms of the systems working, I'm sure you also made a recommendation on that one to make sure that the CCTVs at the airports are working, because we think those ones can also give us very good, valuable information as we conclude, as we conclude this investigation moving forward.
Chair, let me put it this way. Between and among the services, there has been a very serious engagement on that subject, not just about the plane. That is why I said engage the police, but you may also engage the service currently on that. Because there are certain questions, Chair, for me to respond in the way maybe the committee would have me to respond, is exposing certain things that we shouldn't expose. And that being a very critical installation, Chair, I really beg your indulgence that you allow me to let it there. But my advice is you get all that information very easily when you engage the two systems. Thank you, Chair.
So, Chair, finally, as a DG, I'm sure you had a management team. Can you confirm?
Yes.
So, around this issue, how many management briefings did you have? Because I think you are talking about people at Kia, people somewhere else, but you as bosses, how many briefings or meetings did you have around this? And to give guidance to your teams out there. Because there are teams that were in Chikangawa. I'm sure they might have gotten advice from someone in the North Regional Intelligence Officer. But as senior management, how many briefings did you have, actually meetings, to guide these boys in the field?
Let me put it this way, Chair. I may not recollect exactly how many management meetings, and specifically on this one, but you remember in the management meetings, the finance guy will be there, this one will be there. And in intelligence, it doesn't always work like that. There are task teams that are deployed for certain operations. And in intelligence, we have a language which we call compartmentalization, or on the need-to-know basis, to protect the integrity of the information itself. So we did all that we could do. Maybe that's the best way I can answer. But to say as if it is a way of maybe performance management, how many meetings you had and what, in intelligence it doesn't work like that. Thank you, Chair.
No, thank you very much. I have no further questions to ask, except to wind up. Maybe you have anything to say. I will allow you to say something, but just to appreciate the extent of discourse we've had. You've shed more light, and I think a lot of people didn't appreciate the role that NIS plays in the country. It's probably undermined, but now people can hear for themselves the role. I had a wrong impression when you were making presentation and answering us that I felt at some stage that NIS had nothing to do with the office of the VP in terms of security. So I was getting very worried. So towards the end, you started backtracking, and correcting yourself. So so I appreciate that the story is now complete, in as far as our investigations is concerned. So it's been a pleasure talking to you on a very difficult subject matter, But thanks for your cooperation, your understanding. You may have final words or final comments to make.
Chair, just to appreciate the committee, that you gave me this grace to come before you, considering that I should not have been here under normal circumstances, but also just to advise your House and the whole polity of our leadership in this country. Let us reduce the political temperatures. Now I speak as a former DG. Sometimes they say when you retire, you have the grace to make one or two, utterances. We are all Malawians in this country. I have noted a lot of punitive stances, both sides, even within the political organizations that govern our country. By governing, I mean all of you that are in Parliament, I ask, because it affects, now as a villager now, it affects us who are there. So I would really plead, I know there are others who don't have this grace to speak to you as leaders. Please, be sober and lead us. And your committee has a big mandate. Finally, this inquiry should never have happened if things happened in a certain way. But it is here, and it has also brought a lot of things to light. So God maybe knew that we needed 4 inquiries to at least to get closure. And also, when you look at some of the witnesses, the way you are critical with some of us, in as much as emotions being involved, be critical with them. I saw there were a lot of kid gloves with certain, witnesses, understandably, because where they're coming from. But being in a business where manipulation can be operations, I really plead with your committee, but I also wish you the best. I know, but at the end of the day, the committee will agree and come up with something that the whole nation, we can accept and move forward. Thank you very much, Chair.
No, thank you very much, Mr. Dokani. We will endeavor this commission to do a job that you couldn't complete. It's a tough job, and there are lots of missing pieces that you are asking us to keep chasing. We'll try to do a better job, but we appreciate, and I've learned one thing from this interview: His grace is sufficient. We're meeting you is by His grace. I don't know whether we'll meet you again, but it was a pleasure meeting you, Pastor. You may take leave now. That pot of water is yours. It's not contaminated.
Luntha Television, bringing wisdom into your home.
Luntha Television stands as an autonomous faith-based broadcaster with a national and international reach. experience the difference with Luntha Television, where innovation meets experience. Our dedicated team, backed by cutting-edge technology, ensures seamless execution and unparalleled results. Luntha guarantees credibility and professionalism in all its endeavors and services. We offer, among this, production and broadcasting of